Welcome friends to a review on the 2025 Audi Q7. This is the fully loaded prestige model with all the options. We have the all-wheel steer, we have the $4,900 advanced Bang & Olufsen audio system here. And the way you see it here, this SUV, it stickers for a little over $88,000. Personally, I recommend going with the mid-level Premium Plus trim level and getting the Executive Plus package. With the V6 engine, that's going to set you back about $75,000, and at that point, the Q7 becomes an incredible value in the luxury SUV market. But I'll touch more on the options and the trims throughout the video. But right now, let's quickly talk about what's new for the 2025 Q7. Well, we do get newly revised front and rear bumpers, and I do like the clean aesthetic of the Q7. Comment below, let me know your thoughts about how this SUV looks. We also have a new gold metallic exterior color that you can choose from. We also have some new wheel designs, and regarding the interior space, it pretty much remains the same, except regarding the Audi MMI infotainment, you now have access to third-party apps like YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, etc. I'll have more information posted on the screen for you to check out, but for right now, let's go ahead and let's get right into my driving thoughts. Okay, I recently just got a 2025 Lexus RX plug-in hybrid to check out, and yes, I'm fully aware this Q7 does not compete with something like an RX. I'm just trying to make a point here. That RX, it's stickered for a little over $75,000. And in my review, I mean, there was nothing overly to complain about. The vehicle was quiet, comfortable, all of that. However, it did not feel like a $70,000+ driving experience. With this Q7, you actually feel like you are driving a vehicle that is worth $70,000-$80,000+. You truly feel like you are operating an SUV that has transcended regular generic automobiles. And many people, when they think about a German car driving experience, they tend to have like this hefty tank-like sensation in their mind, and this Q7, it achieves that type of feeling. In fact, I would say for 2025, they kind of doubled down on that feel, more so than even the previous Q7. As this SUV rolls down the road, you get that hefty feel. You feel like the SUV is really digging into the tarmac, and I'm loving the overall character and demeanor of this. In fact, I would say that the character that this SUV exudes, it's even slightly one notch above something like a BMW X7. Even though the X7 does some things better than the Q7, I just love the feel of this. Okay, starting with the drivetrain, we have the turbocharged 3-liter V6 engine producing 335 horsepower and 369 pounds-feet of torque. Audi claims that this model can do 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds. There's also a turbo 4-cylinder that is available, and Audi says that that model can do 0 to 60 in about 6.7 seconds. The engine is definitely where the BMW X7 has a bit more of an advantage, because that inline 6, it feels brisk, but it also continues to pull at the high speed. This Q7, the V6, it does lose steam at the top end. Not that it really matters, because the way most people are going to be driving something like the Q7, it's going to be calm and chill. You know, this SUV, it's got a tranquil nature about it, really kind of lowers your blood pressure, if you will, because this really is a quiet and serene cabin. That being said though, this drivetrain is smooth. I love the sound of that V6 engine. It's just that the gear changes, everything is a bit more lethargic to respond. We have here the 8-speed Tiptronic transmission. It just lacks the snappy shifts that you would get from the 8-speed ZF found in, you know, something like a BMW X7. More importantly though, it's the refinement of this SUV that is truly exceptional. So part of the reason why I recommend going with a Premium Plus with the Executive Plus package is because that package adds a lot for the money. You get things like the double pane glass on the side. You get this incredible adaptive air suspension along with 4-zone climate control, you get the heated rear seats, manual sunshades at the back. This being the Prestige trim level, it just naturally comes with all of these things. And it's true, I mean, you hardly get any wind noise or tire noise in this cabin. Around town, you can genuinely be doing 10, 15, even 20 miles an hour over the speed limit, not even realize it. Out on the highway, you don't get this crazy wind buffeting effect. Once again, it maintains that tranquil quality. The adaptive air suspension, even in conjunction with these big 21-inch wheels, it's just soaking up all of the bumps. You hardly feel any of the impacts. So that's why I appreciate this SUV. It's doubling down on what typically makes a German car great, while giving you all of the phenomenal refinements. So despite this not having the same level of precision in the corners or with its drivetrain like with a BMW X7, once again, it's the character that sets the Q7 apart. Not to mention the excellent value when you go with the right trim. The way that you see it here, this V6 model weighs 5,049 pounds. If you go with the 4-cylinder, it weighs exactly 100 pounds less. And when you take your everyday corners in this SUV, you do get this lean. However, I would not label that as a con, because you know the vehicle is leaning into the corners, but you, the occupant, you remain neutral in the cabin. You are not being swayed about. It's a very unique feel. I haven't really gotten this with just about any other SUV. And it's the same thing when you brake as well. The vehicle is coming to a hard stop, but that G-force is not being translated into the cabin. This SUV is doing a really good job of letting you know what's going on without translating any of those unwanted imperfections to you and to your occupants. Really impressive. You also have some different drive modes that you can put this SUV into. You have the comfort, you have the dynamic, you have some off-road settings, and you can also put it into an automatic mode, which is what I have this SUV in right now. I have to say, even in the dynamic mode, there's not a substantial change in the way this SUV performs. The ride quality doesn't get, much harsher or anything. I do notice that the steering does tighten up a bit, and that subtle lean that I talked about in the corners, that does get a bit reduced. So it's nice, but it's not a big difference. I do wish that these modes made a more pronounced difference. That additional bandwidth would allow this air suspension to really be used at its full potential. But again, not a big deal. I don't mind the way they have this vehicle tuned and calibrated. So overall, nice, high quality driving experience. It's quiet, it's comfortable. You have a nice, smooth drivetrain here. It's doing everything that you would want out of a luxury SUV. And that same tank-like quality continues with the interior space as well. So let's go ahead and let's transition into that interior space now. Okay, now that we are stopped, let's go ahead and let's talk about this interior space. Once again, it's the solidity of the cabin that you are really going to appreciate when you first step inside. Also, when you open and close this door, this is genuinely one of the heavier doors that you're going to come in contact with. This and Porsche. So that too gives you a very secure feel. But yeah, the overall cabin and design, it hasn't really changed much. Once again, it's really that infotainment screen where you now get access to third-party apps such as YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, etc. But overall, the infotainment itself, super easy to use. One of my more favorite infotainments that you can get. Everything is just logically laid out, easy to access, no problem. But something to note about most Audis is they put all of their HVAC and climate control into a separate screen. Usually I am not a big fan of this. I would like to see physical controls for such things, but I have to admit, I do like their approach. In fact, both with the infotainment and with this climate control screen, you do have to genuinely press on these different buttons. There's a true tactility to it. It's not like a regular touchscreen that you're interacting with. You have to put some effort and force and to get that audible click. But once again, I like to see physical controls just for the reliability purpose. Anyway, that forced clicking action is not necessary when you are in the Apple CarPlay and I'm assuming Android Auto as well. The screen reacts like a normal touchscreen. You don't have to deliberately press down on anything. it just behaves like a regular touchscreen. But we also have, all of the main features that you would expect from a fully loaded luxury product. We have the heated and cooled seats. We have a very useful 360 camera, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, all of that is wireless. We also have a wireless charging pad inside of the center armrest here. We have the heated steering wheel. Everything works great and rather quickly too. Plus this heated steering wheel, it actually heats up the entire rim of the steering wheel, not just, the sides. And in general, I do like these Audi steering wheels, very satisfactory to grip onto. And with the Prestige models only, you're able to option in the advanced Bang & Olufsen audio system for $4,900. Is this audio system worth it? Well, it does sound really good and really powerful. I mean, when you crank up that volume really high, you can feel the music resonating throughout your body. So yes, it's a powerful unit, but when you crank up the volume like that, you do notice some distortion. And overall, I would say that even though this audio system is really good, it's not quite on the level of flagship audio found in things like a Mercedes S-Class per se. This is more so in line with like the Mark Levinson from Lexus, and that's certainly not a bad thing. This is still a top tier audio system. I just don't think that it's worth paying, nearly 7-8% of the total MSRP of this vehicle to get this audio system. I think the regular Bang & Olufsen found in the Premium Plus Q7s, that should suffice. But keep in mind, if you want things like that all-wheel steer, you do have to get this Prestige model. It's like a $1,200 or a $1,300 option to get the all-wheel steer, and that does make your everyday tight maneuvers much easier. It allows for these long wheelbase products to really pivot around turns during your everyday drive. Once again though, I think that Premium Plus executive package, I do think that it's the best value. I would not necessarily pay up to get the Prestige, to get things like the all-wheel steer and this top tier audio system, especially since these are two additional options you have to pay on top of the Prestige. Regardless though, we do have a massive pano moonroof here, and I would like them to add some type of a suede headlining material. I think that could take this cabin to the next level. Anyway, the seats, super comfortable, and I like Audi's approach to seats. It's a bit on the firmer side, and I think that's really good for your posture. In fact, I was kind of researching some office chairs, and top tier brands like Herman Miller, Steelcase, they tend to offer a thinner and stiffer bottom seat cushion, and apparently that's really good for long-term sitting sessions. And I think Audi has taken a similar approach here. This bottom seat cushion, it's a bit on the firmer side, but I feel like because of that, you can do much longer journeys in this and not really feel fatigued. So I find this seat to be really comfortable and pretty ergonomic, but of course seating comfort, that's pretty subjective. You should check it out for yourself. I would say that pretty much all of these luxury brands, BMW, Mercedes, Lexus, Audi, they all offer rather comfortable seats in their own way. Something that Audi could improve upon is the interior storage space. For instance, the center armrest is not that large. The glove box is a decent size, but things like this door pocket and armrest could be a bit better. Usually, I'm not a big fan of this piano black material being used throughout the interior space. Fortunately, this material doesn't really smudge, but it does show, dust particles and certain scratches over time. That's my main drawback with it, and it can be a bit reflective. Thankfully, the screens in this vehicle, like the digital gauge cluster, the infotainment and climate control, these screens are not reflective at all. Even in harsh sunlight, you're able to see the screens quite clearly. And yeah, digital gauge cluster, that's also rather easy to use. Shows you some great information. You can of course see your fuel economy. The V6 models, it's rated to get 18 in the city, 23 out on the highway. I think the 4 cylinders, they get about 20 city, 26 highway. And of course there is a top of the line SQ7 with the V8 engine. I'll cover that more so in the conclusion segment, but yeah, the recommended fuel for all of these engines, it's going to be premium fuel. Okay, let's move on to the rear seats. So the second row, it continues to be rather comfortable. I am 5'11". It is rather easy for me to get in and out of this SUV. I have plenty of legroom in the back, sitting behind myself, and of course, because this is the top trim level, we do have the heated seats in the back. We have the 4-zone climate. You have the manual sunshades, and yes, you do get double pane glass in the back as well, all contributing to a very quiet cabin. So second row is fine, but the third row seats in this is definitely a joke. And that's part of the reason why the Q7 is a good value. The third row seats in this, it's not that large. And so because of that, it's not quite as expensive as something like a BMW X7 or a Mercedes GLS. Both of those SUVs offer truly practical third rows. Like, I'm 5'11", I can genuinely fit in all 3 rows of something like an X7 or a GLS. And of course, there's also the new Lexus TX to consider as well. Here, I mean, it's difficult for even children to fit in the 3rd row of this Q7. Really, the best way to utilize this SUV is to simply fold down the 3rd row seats and just take advantage of that massive cargo space. That's what makes something like this a better value over like a regular BMW X5, because yeah, you technically have the 3rd row, but it's really when you fold that down, you just get a huge cargo capacity. And that's great if you're someone that travels. Plus the 2nd row, I mean, it truly offers opulent amounts of space. And you can, of course, push the 2nd row seats forward and back. You can also recline the 2nd row seats. I mean, I tried the 3rd row seats even while having the 2nd row pushed up a bit, and I still cannot fit in the 3rd row. And we do not have here a spare tire. We have run flat tires instead. And even despite having the run flat tires, this SUV continues to be rather quiet, and we don't have any crazy tire noise here. With that established, let's go ahead and let's conclude this review. Okay, concluding thoughts on the 2025 Audi Q7. As you can see, I am really impressed with what this Q7 has to offer. I love how quiet and comfortable this product is, while maintaining that truly luxurious, hefty, sturdy feel as it rolls down the road. And that same bank vault sensation, it continues with the interior space. Everything is solid, no creaking or rattling going on here. Ergonomics are great, infotainment is easy to use. The main cons with this SUV, it's mainly going to be the piano black finish, along with some limited storage space, as well as the pretty useless 3rd row. And you can also say, sure, the drivetrain here, it's not quite as responsive as something like the inline-6 from BMW in conjunction with their ZF 8-speed transmission. Of course, that's not the type of driving feel that the Q7 is going for, so it's truly not a big deal for me. Yes, the Q7, the X7, and the GLS Benz, all of these are fantastic products actually, but it's the Q7 that really stands out for the value, as mentioned multiple times. Something like a well-equipped GLS, it's going to be in like the mid-90s, and that's for the entry-level GLS 450. For the mid-90s, you can actually step up to the Audi SQ7, the performance model with over 500 horsepower. So again, even when you want to pay up with the Audi brand, you're still getting pretty good value. And that's why I don't really suggest going with the top prestige fully loaded trim levels of the regular Q7, because if you're going to load this up, you might as well just step up to the SQ7 at that point. Of course, on a lease, the MSRP is not always going to determine the best value, but for those who are financing or paying cash, MSRP obviously matters. Regardless though, since you made it to the end of this video, if you want to save on new vehicles like this Audi Q7, make sure to check out AutoCompanion.com. I will have his website linked below, along with a free leasing calculator. If you found value with this content, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you again for watching, take care, and goodbye.